You've got a problem, change your fucking car.
It's lights out and away we go!
Hey everyone, it's Ams
and Jordan
from On the Freeway, and we're here to talk about Austria and Silverstone.
We have a double header for you this week, and we're so excited to share all of our race recaps with you. It's been a couple of great, exciting races, I think, at least.
It was definitely something. It was so much happening in all of the races. I do not know where to put my brain anymore.
Honestly, it's making me very excited for the rest of the season. And I remember when the season started, everyone was just like, it's going to be like another like Max wins by 20 seconds one, and it's going to be horrible. But then we've had 6 different race winners in 12 races, which I find insane.
It is insane. We had a double header and 3 different race winners. Like, wow. How? Wow.
And I think the last couple of weeks have just been so packed. I know everyone's probably itching for a break. I know summer break cannot come soon enough for the drivers. But for me, I'm like, I want more racing. Bring it back, please. So we're up for some exciting races, I think, coming forward too.
I think it's going to be a very tight rest of the year with the championship and everything, because it's looking very, very tight everywhere. Also, the margin are not what they used to be last year anymore, so it's giving for more uncertainty on who's gonna win, and that's just the best.
And I think a lot of it will come down to where people are starting and qualifying. I think it'll come down to like how much does Red Bull actually fall off this season versus like just not doing as well as they normally do.
Yeah, and team strategies and stuff like that more than only the driver.
Yeah. And there are some driver shakeups mid-season because there's been some rumors here and there about both of those things happening for a couple of teams now.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I think it will be definitely interesting to see if drivers change out mid-season, because that could absolutely change the tables.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go on Austria. We had George Russell, second time Grand Prix winner.
Crazy. And Oscar Piastri in second, and Carlos Sainz was in third. After that eventful crash from Max Verstappen and Lando Norris at the Austrian Grand Prix. What did you think about that?
I mean, I think we're definitely seeing again the way, I think Max never has raced really like fair. He's always been a bit of a dirty racer. And since Lando is really challenging him at the moment, we're seeing again that Max that we hadn't seen in a long time.
I think he's not used to being challenged again by a driver. Because like the last time he's really had a serious challenge like to a race win was like, you can go back to 21 and say Lewis, but you could also say, if you want to do like the beginning of the 22 season, like Charles and Carlos a bit, Checo a little bit, but not that much. With like between,
it wasn't as intense as with Lewis, I'd say.
No, and like the first couple of races of 22, like there were like little things here and there, but then he just blazed by the rest of the season so quickly. I don't think he actually ever had to really race people unless he had like a massive grid penalty, but in which case people just let him by and it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, I do think I agree with what Andrea Stella said. So basically, he said that the problem was that in 2021, when Max was racing harsh and dirty and sometimes dangerously, so FIA didn't give him like the right penalties in a way, which is, so they kind of like endorsed him, which is why he's still doing it now. And I think that's actually what's happening, because it's giving a precedent of like, oh yeah, I can do that. I'm not risking anything. Like, I'm risking a 5 seconds penalty, but who cares? It's like, I have.
It's like a fine and a slap on the wrist is really nothing with
Yeah,
how and
it was
I think it's been so
hilarious.
long for Mercedes to actually win a race.
Yeah,
So well, it's been Brazil 22.
I think 22.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was when George won, and that's the last time anybody's won. Wow. What a well, I think speaking of Mercedes, I think we should talk about Silverstone and talk about the
yeah,
elephant in the room.
Lewis' first win in almost 1,000 days at Silverstone, home soil.
I cried. I don't know if you cried. I cried.
I sobbed. Yeah.
I think everybody did.
Yeah, I
It's
think
so
I
embarrassing.
was talking with fans of various drivers from everyone, and everyone was like, listen, I'm sad that my driver did not win, but I'm happy the win went to Lewis.
Yeah.
And I really think it's a general feeling.
It's just like poetic. It's like his final race with Mercedes at home, at their home Grand Prix. His first win in 945 days. It's just poetic. And it wasn't like, and I, as much as like, I feel bad because like, I think there's such a stark difference between George's win and Lewis's win. It's like George's win was kind of a fluke. Like he was going to be on the podium, like for sure. But then Lando and Max just binned the race in Austria that they both ended up dropping so far that.
Okay, if they hadn't crashed, George wouldn't have had that win.
No. And then, but for Lewis's win, like
it was very much fighting all race long.
Lewis's tire strategy was great. Like Lando also making that mistake, great. McLaren screwing Oscar Piastri also set him up for the win, and it was just like every single thing that needed to happen during that race happened.
Yeah,
he made the perfect pit stops. The team did a great job. Like it was just so well done. The whole.
It's race. Really all the stars aligned for Lewis to win this race.
Yeah, agreed.
It was emotional.
It was beautiful.
It was, yeah.
I was so happy. I was insufferable that day.
Oh, same.
I don't even know. I don't know how to handle it.
No, same. I called. So I was at Silverstone at the race, and when my family called me, like when I came back, they were like, "How was it?" And I was just like, "I saw it was Hamilton, well done." Like the only thing I've been talking about all week. It's like I think it truly is one of those moments that are gonna make it to the history books of F1.
Oh yeah, well, because it is a history. It is a record. It's
exactly
most wins at any racetrack for a driver, and he's had I think 12 consecutive podiums at that race.
Yeah,
which is insane.
Insane.
For one person.
And I really like how George was the first one to come and like pat him on the head.
I do wish he'd stayed for the team pictures.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he left, but he did leave.
Yeah, I hadn't realized either, but
because I didn't see him. I was like asking my friends. I was like, "Where?" I was like, "Is he not in any of the team?" No, he left. Right after that.
Yeah.
But it was nice that he congratulated him. And I think wasn't that George on the radio at the end as well?
I mean, I've seen people said it was George, and I've seen people said it was Bono. So I haven't seen any confirmation anywhere.
I'm not.
On who was it.
It sounded like George, but I guess
it sounded like George.
Yeah, like the get in there, Lewis. I thought that was George. I'm gonna assume it's George Russell.
I saw you like the voice sounded more like George than Bono.
Yeah, agreed.
I haven't seen confirmation anywhere, but yeah. Yeah, and even like Lewis crying on the radio and everything. I think, yeah, everyone was.
His mom. Like I do feel bad for George because like that is his home race, and to have to retire the car during the race when you're on pole.
Yeah. It was a hard race for George. It was harsh.
For something that you can't even control, like a water leak.
Yeah. Because he had a great weekend, all weekend. And he was on pole, so there was really a hope. and then the car was like, no, bye.
It definitely could have been like a Mercedes 1-2 kind of weekend, or like even
Definitely.
like a Mercedes double podium something.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it's just tough for him. But I hope
But
he'll
it was
recover
an
from
insane
this.
race. Like the number of time we had a different driver leading.
Yeah.
It was, I think, before the last few laps, it was impossible to know who was gonna be on that podium.
Yeah. Like I felt really bad. I was like ripping my partner's hand the whole like last like 6 laps of the race because I was just like,
Yep.
because I was just like, I know he's on softs and I know that like Max is on hards and he's like making a charge past Lando. But then I was like, the longer that Max stays behind Lando, the better this will be.
Yeah.
And then he stayed behind him for a good second. I was just yes.
No, I was the same. I was stressed. I don't remember when was the last time I was this stressed about a race.
Same.
I started the race with nail polish, and at the end I had nothing.
It was, and like, I think Max had a good race. I think he definitely like pulled it together after Austria. And I think Lando had a good race as well, but he just I don't know what's going on in the McLaren garage.
Yeah.
In the McLaren garage with the strategy because like
not
double stacking didn't make sense.
Yeah, and I've seen the radio, the full radio. They spent 3 laps discussing with Lando which tires to put him in. And
for the last change.
Yeah. And like, why are you spending 3 laps yapping to your driver who's in the lead about what tire to put him in? He doesn't have the data. It's a choice. I mean, you can ask for his opinion, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a choice that ultimately you need to make because you're the one who has the data.
Have you heard Oscar's radio from that same tire change window?
Yeah,
they're night and day. And I think it's the difference in their engineers. Like, I think it's the difference in how Oscar drives and how he asks for information. And, like, people are upset with me whenever I say that I think Oscar Piastri might win, like, a championship before Lando Norris. But, like, I think the difference in how they handle stuff like that is the reason why.
Yeah.
Because, like, Oscar was really direct and he was really clear and he was just like, what is the better tire? They said mediums. He said, okay, let's do mediums. Or like, why? It wasn't like a back and forth. It wasn't a question. It wasn't him coming into the pits and saying, I want softs to cover off Lewis. Knowing that Max is going on to hards.
I think Oscar is really, I mean, something I always say, but when you listen to his radio, he always sound unbothered. Even like someone could take him out and he'll be unbothered. And I think he's really good at keeping her level head.
He's really in control.
Yeah. And I think that's really good for him and that's an advantage for him.
Yeah. And like I think sometimes like especially like when you spent that long discussing it, like Lando just got flustered a bit and that pit stop was also super long.
Yeah, nothing was right. It's
because he missed the box a bit.
Yeah, nothing was okay. It's yeah.
And like I think at a track like Silverstone, if you're this is gonna sound it's not gonna sound bad, but like if you're someone like Lewis Hamilton, you can use softs. Because Lewis is very good at tire management. He knows that track like the back of his head. So he's not gonna kill a pair of softs in 5 laps like an Oscar Piastri, a Lando Norris might. And for the team to have a good brand new set of mediums and not put him on those mediums and just overrule him was insane.
No, I really think McLaren fucked up.
Yeah, because they could have gotten that P2. That could have
they could have at least got that P2. Yeah.
It's like I don't think they would have won, but I think they definitely would have gotten P2.
No,
and, like,
really.
Them not double stacking and leaving Oscar out made 0 sense. Especially with like I understand that he either would have had to have backed the Mercedes out or let one of them pass. But at the same time, it's like leaving him out lost so much time. And like even like McLaren could have had, especially with George not being on the podium. And George didn't have in the race. Like McLaren could have had a 1-2, a 2-3.
Yeah.
Like a
No,
double
clearly.
podium. It could have been a great weekend for them. But the way that it all just ended up was just not in anybody's favor.
Yeah, I've read that by staying out, Oscar lost like more times at like one complete pit stop, which is gigantic.
Yeah. Because like he had to go so slowly around that track just to not crash into a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it doesn't make sense.
No, I hope they get their shit together, clearly, because they have what it takes to win. They have the car. And I think if they all pull themselves together, they can really get there.
Yeah.
So
and I do think that this weekend, though, might have shown like Red Bull's hand a bit. And I think they actually have fallen off quite a lot since the beginning of the season.
okay.
Because, like, I think the way that Checo drives and the way that Max drives are so different. But the thing is, like, for Checo to be so bad,
It was
the entire race, I don't think they have the pace if they don't qualify well.
I mean, I don't think either, especially, I mean, we've seen it multiple times this year already. When Max doesn't qualify well, he struggles to come back.
Yeah.
And usually when he doesn't qualify well, that's when he doesn't win.
If he's not on the first row, he will likely not win.
Yeah.
Maybe the second row, then he's fine.
But even in his post-race interview, he was saying, oh, I was like, the car was very slow. And at one point, I saw Carlos rock up to the party, and I was like, oh, wow, that's how bad we are. And it's like, yeah, if you have a Ferrari catching up to you.
Like, it's a bit crazy to think about. When I don't know.
Yeah,
Second.
Yeah, no, the cap costs for Red Bull. I think in the end, we were all saying, oh, it's not gonna hurt them to like, but I think in the end it did hurt them a bit.
Mm-hmm. I think they might struggle this season, especially because I don't know how much of Checo's struggles are inherently Checo or if it's the car. And I think they're blaming Checo for stuff when in reality, I think it's that car. And I think it's that car when it's not Max, because the car is Max, just personified. And if you're not Max, you cannot make that car work. And like my biggest fear for Checo is like they swap him out mid-season and someone else comes in and it also does poorly, because then it really does show that Red Bull's hands, and then it's just like you just swapped out your driver for someone who's also just as bad because your car sucks. It's not like that thing.
Yeah, but that's what
I have it printed out.
But that's what Alex Albon was saying after his Red Bull stint, that the car was made around Max so much that it's hard to drive when you don't have his driving style.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfair both to the second driver and to the team, because how do you want to have good results if you cannot drive the car?
Like last year, they were just so much faster than everybody else that it made up. And so Checo could kind of like make up for some of that like uncomfort in driving it with Max's style, just with the sheer pace and the sheer speed of that Red Bull car. But this year, when they don't have that kind of pace, it's putting it all out there.
Yeah. No, even Max qualifying P5, it was a shock for me. I honestly, it was a shock. I was just like,
and behind 2 Mercedes and 2 McLarens.
Yeah, no, the Red Bull domination is over.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a domination for the rest of the season, which I'm excited for, but it's also going to be chaotic and crazy.
It's going to be very chaotic, but I'm all here for chaos. Also, I wanted to touch up just before we finish on Brad Pitt.
I will not be watching the movie.
No, I will not be watching it either, but I just want to say, have you understood that it was basically a fanfiction of Brad Pitt self-inserting himself into Formula One?
No.
Because, so I saw the trailer because they showed it live. And I hadn't understood that the movie is about an 11th team amongst all team taking place in this season. So like the drivers, the actual teams are gonna be like actors in the films. It's a fan fiction. It's a self-insert Brad Pitt fan fiction.
That makes so much more sense now because like the socials thing was so weird to me. I was like, why are they just like randomly like the Nick DeVries thing? That was crazy
Yeah.
to me. And like the whole way that they've been running this whole social campaign made no sense until that.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know anything about Formula One and you arrive and you see this, you think it's a legit team.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, I'm still shocked. I have to admit, I mean, I was already not gonna watch the movie, but now I hate it even more because those guys are like real people. They're not
I
characters.
remember like seeing all the drivers in their post-race interviews, and then Brad Pitt rocks up and Dance and Idris walks
It,
up.
it, it's like you could see this week like Lando almost crying, and then Brad Pitt behind him like, "Hi, hello." It's like
I finished P5, and it's like, no, you didn't.
yeah,
No way.
It's ridiculous. Like you just had the worst time of your life, and next to you is Brad Pitt, and it's like, why aren't you doing like recording the scene when it's empty? Like
do it during quali.
Exactly. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that it was a self-insert fanfic.
I did not know that, but that's good information.
But then the fangirls are what is ruining the sport and is problematic, this.
When I do it, it's a problem.
Exactly. When we do it on Wattpad, it's a problem. But Brad Pitt, it's fine. The difference is we don't have $3 million to write or book on Wattpad. But yeah, on that note, I think we talked about everything.
I think so. Silverstone was... Oh, the Haas has gotten the points again.
Yes.
And Ferrari had another bad week.
And Oli Bierman is announced to Haas officially.
I don't know. I actually think that like the more this stuff goes on, I think Logan might not get the boot as quickly as people think he might. I think K-Mag might get the boot though.
Yeah.
I think K-Mag might get the boot before Logan does.
I don't know. I'm lost with all of those rumors and stuff, and
that was the one thing I meant to say. Williams was in the points this week, and Logan was P11.
Yes, Logan did a good race.
He did a great job. And
yeah.
So I was like, he heard, I think every time James Vowles like talks smack in the newsroom, he just is like, okay, fine. I will drive like my life depends on it.
Yeah.
Literally done at this point.
It's because we were talking about Logan. We were like so happy that Logan got in the point. It was like fireworks.
It's like he was so close but so far. I just needed one. I needed one DNF this race, and then Logan would have.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but
now hopefully
in a couple of weeks.
Let's see what's the next one.
Hungaroring, Budapest.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see what it brings. And then there's like 2 races before the summer break.
Yeah, Hungary, then Spa, then we got a month off, and then we have Zandvoort.
Yeah, let's see what the rest of the year bring. Well, officially halfway through.
Exciting.
Me too. So guys, we'll see you at the next race. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
You've got a problem, change your fucking car.
It's lights out.